for lesson 17. Thank you, Rev Wayne Stills, for being with us. This mic is all yours.
All right. Let's just first share sound here so I can get this thing going first. So Wayne Stills from Miracles Everywhere. Today's lesson 17, lesson 17, and today's we're also going to do text. Hold on, let me just get this going here. All right, so just get this going here. I gotta put a little tunes on while I just do some busy work here. All right. Okay, lesson 17 today. Actually, unusual things today. All right. Meaning of the Last Judgment is the text, and we'll start with the text. Screws everywhere, and we are going to start with the text. Meaning of the Last Judgment is the text. Non-neutral things that have come up from yesterday, and coming up from yesterday. It's obviously if yesterday there's no if our thoughts aren't neutral. And our thoughts are creative. And everything we're looking at is not neutral. And if everything we're looking at is not neutral, then we are all totally biased. Most of us don't look at our thoughts too much with care, but then we have opinions. We assume that our opinions are private. But we do know also, intellectually at least, that we have no private thoughts. But once you realize your thoughts are not private, they're actually projected outwards onto those around you, onto that which is around you. You realize that you're throwing either one of two things around you. You're either throwing thoughts of love, thoughts of helpfulness, thoughts of care, or pushing people away with thoughts of misery, suffering, and unhelpfulness. You're either helping or you're not helping. You're either expanding the consciousness around you, you're tightening your grip on it, controlling it, twisting it. And to the extent that you let it go by saying, hey, I don't know what, I have thousands of millions of opinions, I don't know what they are. I don't know what they are. This whole world's a big bunch of my opinions put together and multiplied, divided, moment to moment, improvised, figured out as though I knew what I was doing, but I don't. But I know one thing, which I never knew when I was younger. You learn as you get older, especially if you have something helping you out, someone helping you out. You stop caring that you don't know. First, you think you know everything. When you hit your 20s, you think you know everything in your 20s, and even your 30s. When you hit your mid-30s, you say, hey, man, I don't know anything. It bums you out until you hit your 40s and 50s. You realize you couldn't care less. So you know nothing. What the hell I care? I'm still there. I couldn't care less. I know nothing. Except I want as much peace in as possible before it's time for me to go to the next step. Whatever that means. All right. So let's get on to the next step here. All right.
Undertaken by God. Superscript 2 Act.
Let's take a station break here, guys. Otherwise, I think today we might just do the lesson. Oh, that's okay. We're just gonna do the lesson today. We're going backwards. We'll go backwards today. We'll do the lesson and then we'll do the text. That's what we'll do. What's the big deal? We'll just do the text. That's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. Today's a big change today, guys. Hope you can handle it. Today we're gonna do the lesson first, and then we'll go back and do the text. Maybe. I mean, we'll just do a lesson today. I don't know. Might be a full life hours today. I don't know. We'll check it out. Because I got half missing, which means I have to go find it again. I got half missing for some reason. Somehow it didn't catch all of it, which means I have to go get it, and then I have to make you wait with dead air or put a song on or something like that. We don't need that. We'll just go straight to the lesson. So let me just get straight to it. Okay, there. So we're going straight to the lesson. So here comes Jim Stewart. He's gonna lesson 17, and
Lesson 17. I see no neutral things. This idea is another step in the direction of identifying cause and effect as it really operates in the world. You see no neutral things because you have no neutral thoughts. It is always the thought that comes first, despite the temptation to believe that it is the other way around. This is not the way the world thinks, but you must learn that it is the way you think. If it were not so, perception would have no cause and would itself be the cause of reality. In view of its highly variable nature, this is hardly likely. In applying today's idea, say to yourself, with eyes open, I see no neutral things because I have no neutral thoughts. Then look about you, resting your glance on each thing you note long enough to say, I do not see a neutral blank because my thoughts about blank are not neutral. For example, you might say, I do not see a neutral wall because my thoughts about walls are not neutral. I do not see a neutral body because my thoughts about bodies are not neutral. As usual, it is essential to make no distinctions between what you believe to be animate or inanimate, pleasant or unpleasant. Regardless of what you may believe, you do not see anything that is really alive or really joyous. That is because you are unaware as yet of any thought that is really true and therefore really happy. 3 or 4 specific practice periods are recommended, and no less than 3 are required for maximum benefit, even if you experience resistance. However, if you do, the length of the practice period may be reduced to less than the minute or so that is otherwise recommended.
Now let's work backwards to the text. I kind of found it. That's what they call it. So let's go for it.
The meaning of the Last Judgment. One of the ways in which you can correct the magic miracle confusion is to remember that you did not create yourself. You are apt to forget this when you become egocentric, and this puts you in a position where a belief in magic is virtually inevitable. Your will to create was given you by your Creator, who is expressing the same will in His creation. Since creative ability rests in the mind, everything you create is necessarily a matter of will. It also follows that whatever you alone make is real in your own sight, though not in the mind of God. This basic distinction leads directly into the real meaning of the Last Judgment. The Last Judgment is one of the most threatening ideas in your thinking. This is because you do not understand it. Judgment is not an attribute of God. It was brought into being only after the separation, when it became one of the many learning devices to be built into the overall plan. Just as the separation occurred over millions of years, the Last Judgment will extend over a similarly long period, and perhaps an even longer one. Its length can, however, be greatly shortened by miracles, the device for shortening but not abolishing time. If a sufficient number become truly miracle-minded, this shortening process can be virtually immeasurable. It is essential, however, that you free yourself from fear quickly, because you must emerge from the conflict if you are to bring peace to other minds. The Last Judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. Actually, it will be undertaken by my brothers with my help. It is a final healing rather than a meting out of punishment, however much you may think that punishment is deserved. Punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness, and the aim of the Last Judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. The Last Judgment might be called a process of right evaluation. It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not. After this, the ability to choose can be directed rationally. Until this distinction is made, however, the vacillations between free and imprisoned cannot but continue. The first step toward freedom involves a sorting out of the false from the true. This is a process of separation in the constructive sense and reflects the true meaning of the apocalypse. Everyone will ultimately look upon his own creations and choose to preserve only what is good, just as God himself looked upon what he had created and knew that it was good. At this point, the mind can begin to look with love on its own creations because of their worthiness. At the same time, the mind will inevitably disown its miscreations which, without belief, will no longer exist. The term Last Judgment is frightening not only because it has been projected onto God, but also because of the association of last with death. This is an outstanding example of upside-down perception. If the meaning of the Last Judgment is objectively examined, it is quite apparent that it is really the doorway to life. No one who lives in fear is really alive. Your own Last Judgment cannot be directed toward yourself, because you are not your own creation. You can, however, apply it meaningfully and at any time to everything you have made, and retain in your memory only what is creative and good. This is what your right-mindedness cannot but dictate. The purpose of time is solely to give you time to achieve this judgment. It is your own perfect judgment of your own perfect creations. When everything you retain is lovable, there is no reason for fear to remain with you. This is your part in the atonement.
And now, something a little bit different. Take it away. Take it away, essay. Take a look at both texts. The text on the lesson. Take away essay. Mind, judgment, and perception.
Takeaway essay, Mind, Judgment, and Perception. A unifying thread across the two texts is the primacy of thought in shaping reality. Both works insist that what we experience as the world is deeply colored by our own mind, the beliefs, judgments, and thoughts we hold. We do not passively observe a neutral universe, rather, our thoughts precede and determine perception, meaning, and even the sense of what is alive or real. The meaning of the Last Judgment, the core insight is that creation and responsibility lie in the mind, not in the external world or in a punitive cosmic verdict. The Last Judgment is reframed not as God's punishment but as a collective, restorative process guided by those who choose right-mindedness. It is a sorting of creations into the truly good and the miscreations that can be let go, a journey toward healing and rational choice. Time is a tool that miracles can shorten, but fear must be overcome to participate in the transformation. In this view, judgment is not a threat from above but a mechanism for aligning perception with truth, freeing beings to live from love rather than from fear. Lesson 17. The practical corollary is that no neutral things exist because every perception arises from non-neutral thoughts. What we consider ordinary objects or events are colored by our beliefs about them. The exercise invites explicit recognition of this causality, to acknowledge that our thoughts determine what we see, even to the point of redefining how we view walls, bodies, or other people. The practice reinforces the epistemic shift demanded. By choosing non-judgmental, loving thoughts, we purify perception and move toward sincerity, aliveness, and happiness. Together, the texts counsel a disciplined humility. Understand that your mind creates your world, embrace a non-punitive, healing form of judgment, and train yourself to cultivate thoughts that illuminate truth rather than reinforce fear.
Nice. All right. That was all very good. It's all very good stuff. I see no neutral things. I see no neutral things. It's interesting because we spend a lot of time meditating to see that everything as though it's neutral. One wonders if we can, or how neutral we can really, non-neutral can we get? Is that simply a seeming passivity, a seeming neutrality in a biased context? Carl Jung always said that lucid dream, he implied it was sort of a hoax by saying you were dreaming that you were lucid. Wasn't thrilled with the idea of lucid dreams. One of the ways that we create or so-called make things, so-called create, make things, one of the ways that we invent by throwing what are neutral things. We throw things out there that have no real meaning. And then we see them as having meaning. Different meanings than these other things. That has one meaning, this has another. Those things have those meanings, and those things have those meanings. And guess what? Those meanings are better than those meanings. The meanings are competing with each other. And only that I want that meaning, and I'm going to get that meaning, and it has to hurt others to get it. It's part of the game. There are lighter versions of the game, more playful versions of the game. And you want to get into those games rather than stay in the lower games. Eventually, getting out of the game completely. But you want to be careful that when you get out of the game, you're not getting into another game of a non-game game. Which simply means, how do I win the game by pretending there's no game? which simply means you're being sneaky. Means you're lying. Means you're scared. I see no unusual things. This idea is another step in the direction of identifying cause and effect as it really operates in the world. First, we make energy. We make energy. We make it neutral. Then we put our bias on it. We make it. We take the energy. We make opinions. We put opinions on it. We twist the energy into opinions, into viewpoints that we've given. We put a price on, and we attach attraction to what we want. And then, of course, we wipe a big wand in front of our face, and we forget completely. And we wake up and we say, "Oh my, where am I? I want that. Must get it." What? Only a certain amount of time to get it all. Alrighty. 1, 2, 3, go. You see no neutral things because you have no neutral thoughts. Obviously, we know that. It's always the thought that comes first, despite the temptation to believe it is the other way around. Now, that's kind of difficult. We can comprehend that on an intellectual level. But you have to take that moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. It's pretty wild. It means everything you do, what you would call a trigger, is you're not only not a trigger. It's not only reacting to. You're reacting to a trigger that you put there to be triggered by. And then when you get triggered as you ask to be triggered by the person that you put there to begin with, then you're given all the meaning that that person has for you. Then the very next reaction that you get from that person, that causes you to react a certain way, all of that is being caused by you. Which ultimately means, which is because everything is a dream, which means you being the dreamer are causing it all. And then you ask, but wait, what am I causing? If it's a dream, isn't it not there? Is it an illusion, an hallucination? So therefore, what's there? Nothing. Nothing at all. So what are you causing? Nothing. Which puts a whole new spin on cause and effect. This is not the way the world thinks. But you must learn that it is the way you think. Interesting. He's dividing you and putting you into a place We always seems to be patting you on the back, giving you, cheering you on. But he says it's not the way the world thinks. So it's possible for one to think that way. The world, the separated ones, as the Course would perhaps refer to them, thinks that way. But you must learn that it is the way that you think. So the world thinks one way, you think another way. Why? Maybe he knows. Maybe there's a part of you that knows how far what your script can feel your script, knows what's coming. Who the heck knows? That's up for you and your intuition. Sometimes you feel your destiny. You can feel your script. You know what you know. If it were not so, perception would have no cause and would itself be the cause of reality. The view of its highly variable nature is hardly likely. In applying today's ideas, see for yourself. Say to yourself, with eyes open, I see no neutral things because I have no neutral thoughts. Remember, you're not necessarily trying to make them non-neutral. At least not at this time. Let them be. I mean, you're trying to make them neutral. They're non-neutral. You want to? We see most things as neutral most of the time. Perhaps when you first walk into a room, you might see the non-neutrality of it all. Forgive me. You see the neutrality of it all. You see the non-neutrality of it all. You see the differences and similarities. You see the way things truly are. See all the biases. Wow, that's nice. That's nice. Look at that square. Look at that rectangle. Look at that thing. Look at that new thing. Look at that. But as time goes on, you start seeing. You forget that you see things all differently. You forget your senses don't see the differences now that they used to see. It's forgotten. It's what we call taking for things for granted. So much so that it's totally forgets in terms of the stars and the moon and other planets where we think it's so far away. So we're driving and we're not looking at the road, but we're doing it by instinct. But we have to realize we have no neutral thoughts. We see no neutral things. This is where we want to be. Seeing similarities and differences is the first step towards moving beyond. Realizing that this is the realm, this is the three-dimensional realm of similarities and differences. He may have you transcended, realizing that all is one. You can't suppress the idea of multiplicity. First, you have to realize, all right, there's an infinite number of infinities here. Experience the infinity of the number of infinities, and then you can experience the oneness of them all. And then you can wake up. Nothing left to do here. So what you do is now you can, all right, I'm going to look at this wall and say, I don't see a neutral wall. I don't have neutral thoughts about a neutral wall. Eventually, your mind, as I start doing this, your mind says, "Oh yeah, I said I had neutral thoughts. I know. I hate George. They remind me of that old expression, closed doors. Other open doors. I never believed that, and that would piss me off when I heard it. Doors. I didn't see a neutral body because thoughts about my body are not real. I mean, not neutral. Thoughts about bodies are not neutral. Bodies. Well, I've suppressed a lot of stuff about bodies. I mean, come on. Come on. As usual, it is essential to make no distinction between what you believe to be animate or inanimate, pleasant or unpleasant. Regardless of what you may believe, you do not see anything that is really alive or really alive or really joyous. That is because you are unaware as yet of any thought that's really true and therefore really happy. We don't know what's alive anyhow, so if nothing's alive. Who knows? Live, what's joyous, what's not joyous. We're totally biased. I saw one of these TV shows, one of these space TV shows about space, and the guy was saying how we are biased towards our own type of life form. He was biased comparing us to rocks and space. He said, "Well, a rock lives much longer than we do. A rock can live millions of years. And since we know there's a void type, nothingness, and then soft type nothingness that compared to us is nothing. That is the creative element here in the universe that has created what we call something. A rock very well may be the most, more solid, more potent, more sentient life form in an ironic sort of way than we are. According to the Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, wonderful book that came out in the 60s, there's only one type. Well, the only ones in the universe is us. And when you die, you expand or you contract, and you become eventually the air that we all breathe. You become space itself, or you become particles. So when you look around you, you're dealing with your ancestors. You're breathing in your ancestors. Whoa. Three or four specific price periods are recommended. And no, it's always a small amount because the important thing is in this course is never try to grind and push and burn for an answer or burn for understanding. Run through the lessons, do what it says, and get what you get, and use it and move on. The lessons repeat themselves in variations, in various ways, so does the text. So does the manual. The whole course continuously repeats itself. It's very circular. It's very musical, very song-like. Listen to it. Hear it. It's like the Bible says, they heard it and they were saved. You hear the word of God and you are saved. You hear music and your conscience is raised. You don't read the words. I mean, they're probably nice to read, but it's the music of it is when you see it. Sermons are meant to be preached, not read. Three or four specific periods are recommended, and no less than 3 are required for maximum benefit, even if you experience resistance. However, if you do, the length of the practice period may be reduced to less than a minute or so that is otherwise recommended. This is a powerful lesson. Kind of puts you in your place. It humbles you, yet at the same time liberates you. Every lesson so far does that wonderfully. The first lesson, at the same time, removing you from your position of your normal set of in your normal seat of power, it puts you to another one that's even greater than you could ever imagine. The first thing you hear from the Course is, "You've been wrong." Then you hear, "But don't worry about it. This is what it's like to be wrong." Sometimes being wrong is cool. One of the wonderful things about the Course is it teaches you how to be wrong and not worry about it. Be happy with that. And once you realize that you're seeing what's there anyhow, you're seeing a whole bunch of wrong interpretations, wrong-minded thoughts projected outward. You'd be happy to be reminded that you're wrong because you probably are. Person who thinks he's always right and won't admit that he's wrong, and I've been there for sure. Not as easy to be with as a person who comes from a place of humbleness. Arrogance versus humbleness. Now, if it's just confidence, it's one thing. No self-esteem versus confidence. When you play baseball, it's easy to bring somebody in back to the center from playing too far out. Play too far out, come back in, then go backwards to get to the ball. I would argue that somebody who's low self-esteem, it's easier to bring them back in to the center, back to the center, than it is if it's too far in the arrogance lane. For most people, at least. Lifting somebody up from the doldrums, bending down to lift them up, taking your hand and reaching downwards to lift somebody up, is done more often, is more often, is done more successfully than reaching up as high as you can and pulling somebody down. So remember that for the most part, notice that we think differently than the world, or we must learn to at least think differently than the world. The world is obviously a reference to the type of word that's used in Scripture, in the Bible, in the ancient Scripture, in the New Testament largely. I'm not sure of any references to the world in the Old Testament, but the New Testament, the world is used often. And the world is usually a reference to the culture, to the dominant culture, to the average Joe, to the teacher in the marketplace. This is not the way the world thinks. This is not the way the culture thinks. Perhaps it's not the way that your friends think, or your family thinks, or anyone you really know thinks. But you must learn to think that way. You must learn that that is the way you think. It isn't the way you must learn to think. You must learn that it is the way you do think. It's not as if perception is the cause of the way you think. You don't think the way you think because you think that that's the way you think. What's true is true. The thought that's true is the original thought. I'm going to pretend that thoughts are true. That pretend thought is the only reality here. That thought is reality. And therefore, that thought is not a real perception. That thought is the real thing. I'm going to pretend. I'm going to pretend. I'm going to pretend. That was the last real world so-called thought. Because it's absolutely true. We decided to pretend. We decided to pretend. And after that, all was baloney. We decided to pretend was a oneness thought. It's still there. I'm pretending, I'm pretending, I'm pretending. But that's not baloney, that's true. After that, it's all baloney. I'm going to pretend and knows it's going to the pretender knows he's pretending. That's why the one job we have here is remind ourselves that we're pretending. Remind ourselves that we're dreaming. Be aware of it. And you move into oneness. Eventually, true oneness. Eventually, you will woken up by the obviousness of where you are. I see no neutral things. I have no neutral thoughts. I'm living in the past. Past isn't in there. So I see what's not there. That bums me out completely. And holy smoke, who am I kidding? You know what? Every time I do a lesson, I get happier. It's always how it is. It's always how it is with the scores. I keep on getting happier and happier and happier and happier and happier. Every single day I get up and I go, okay, it's time to do the lesson. And I get to come in here and do it. You couldn't ask for a better day. Well, nothing I want to call quits there, gents and ladies. It's been a pleasure. Put up with a song with a little melody. And then I'll call it quits. Give the mic back to Lynn. I'm here tomorrow at 12:30. Tomorrow's Sunday, correct? I gotta make sure my days are right, because I'll come in thinking it's next week sometime. Here's a little something for you before I leave. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I played this before. Nah, I'm not gonna play that. I'm gonna play that. Let's see.
Wayne, come in at 11:30 tomorrow.
11:30.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. See, that's why.
Is that
All
cool
right,
for you?
11, I thought that was 12. That's great. It's 11:30 tomorrow is fine. It's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. I just realized I was just looking at the calendar. So yeah, come in at 11:30 and
Okay.
then because
All
Z
right.
and
That
are
sounds
on
good to
that
me,
thing.
guys. All right. So see you tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern. It's 10:30
Eastern. Yeah.
Central. It's 10:30 Central. All right. So until then, peace. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern. Peace.
Thank you so much, Wayne. I love you, brother. Peace to
too.
you. And peace out to everybody here.
Yes.
So grateful for our family here.